Talk to you then. Cheers, my dears.
This is KAKU 88.5 FM.
I love you.
The voice of Maui.
You are listening to Talkative Radio on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui.
This is Talkative Radio, the show where nothing is off limits and no topic is safe. From pop culture chaos and celebrity nonsense to marriage, motherhood, menopause, and everything in between. This is real life, loud, unfiltered, funny, and sharp as hell. Hosted by Allie B, sketch comedy writer, media troublemaker, coffee shop owner, businesswoman, and a woman who does not tiptoe around the truth. You've seen her on TLC, TMZ, and the Gypsy Rose doc series. Now she's bringing the heat to the mic. No scripts, no safe opinions, no fake smiles. Just real conversations, wild laughs, and the kind of honesty most people are too scared to say out loud. This is Talkative Radio. And now your host, Allie B.
All right, it's Thursday, and you're tuned in to Talkative Radio, where we stay bold, we stay curious, and most importantly, we stay talkative. I'm your host, Allie B, and it's another Thursday in the studio with me. I'm so excited this week because, of course, with this new show, we've had a wide range of variety of topics. And so last week we had what did we have? We had the Aloha Forever Pet Foundation in the studio talking about spaying and neutering. And this week we have Daniel, who is a personal friend of mine, but also the #1 dog trainer on the island. So this is definitely an episode for you if you have kids, or if you have pets. If your pets are your kids, I guess that you would need a dog trainer, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're back in the studio. It's Thursday. We got through another week. We got through Valentine's Day. It seems like everyone, including Daniel, you had like a wild week. Everyone is like, I don't know if it's like a full moon or like what's happening. I don't know. You would know that because normally my friends like you would be like, it's, Mercury in retrograde.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, so that's what's going on. We got through Valentine's Day, had such a great time. I went to the ballroom at the Waikapu Ballroom. They had a dance, and I got to rub elbows with all kinds of people from Maui County that I have absolutely always wanted to be friends with and never had the opportunity to spend time with. So had a really good time doing that. Everything is really good. Last week, my stepdad was still in the hospital while we were recording this episode, and then was released like right after, like an hour after. So we're a week post surgery and like ICU. It was like a really tough week. So anyways, we have Daniel from Clear Canine Academy, right? Clear Canine Academy. Got to make sure that I get that right. Before we start our regular interviewing process, of course, we always go down a little bit of our favorite celebrity news. What's happening in America this week?
What's happening?
It's so crazy. It's been 2 weeks with no Nancy Guthrie. So many questions. 84 years old, missing out of her house in Arizona. This is Savannah Guthrie from the Today Show's mother, who was absolutely abducted literally 14 days ago, and no one knows where she is. The investigation into the disappearance of the 84-year-old Nancy continues, with reports indicating an additional ransom communication has been submitted to federal authorities. Law enforcement agencies are actively reviewing the messages while expanding search efforts. Officials have not released a confirmed detail regarding the whereabouts as the case remains ongoing, but we're hoping that they find her, because elderly people go to Walmart or Walgreens. Like it shouldn't be like very hard to find an 84-year-old lady. So something's very suspicious about it. They're weird family videos of them talking to the ransom person is kind of odd to me. Also, Savannah Guthrie wrote a book a couple years ago where she talks about a family game that they used to play called kidnapping.
Weird.
I'm not making this up. So her aunt would come and kidnap the kids every year. And then they would call their mother from payphones along the way. And they would be like, we're alive, but we're... So I don't know. There's a lot of odd things about the whole disappearance of Nancy. Also, they have a new reality show. The police department in Pena, Arizona, where this Nancy went missing, they're a part of a new reality TV series. So I don't know if this is like a plotted thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm confused, but
some promo.
I hope that they find Nancy.
Hopefully.
Tyra Banks was having a really bad week. I don't know if you heard about the America's Next Top Model docuseries on Netflix.
I did not.
3 episodes, and girl, we are just swirling down memory lane. It's kind of crazy because they feature Mr. J and Miss J along with Nigel Baker and all of the old cast members, and it has sparked a wide range of reevaluation of a once beloved reality series because it's exposing emotional manipulation, questionable beauty standards and practices, as well as controversial production decisions. So if Tyra thought this was a good idea to be involved with this documentary, it did not make her look better. It did not make her look any better.
Hindsight.
I know, in hindsight, right? Let's see. I know that I had some. No, I don't have any of the other good news that I thought I was going to share. So we're going to jump right into it. You're locked into KAKU 88.5 FM radio, the voice of Maui. I'm Allie. This is Talkative Radio. Here at KAKU, we have a wide range of great radio programming. So if you don't listen to me today, listen to all the other beautiful broadcast radio programs that we have here at the station. But for me, I'm really excited to be here. Oh, I also forgot. This was also breaking news today. Britain's former Prince Andrew was arrested.
I saw that.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
On suspicion of misconduct in the public office, according to the police. The police have been previously assessing evidence related to the Epstein files. So he is finally tarnished. Like, he's done.
I see. I know they had stripped his royal titles previously, so
I would have hoped they stripped a lot more, but I mean,
one
now
layer at a time.
I feel like he would be kind of like stressed out, like when his brother became, the king. He was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
It's not going to go. It's not going to go good.
Got passed over.
It got passed over. Well, I'm so excited to have Daniel in the studio today. For all of you dog lovers out there, all of you people that love your pets like your children, it is such an important thing because I feel like when you have kids, you send kids to school, right? So your kids know how to behave and your kids learn and educate them. And I feel like it's the same with pets, right? So that's why we have Daniel. Backstory, I met Daniel 4 years ago when I opened up my coffee shop. I was just like a little Polish girl. I did not know what I was doing in the coffee universe. I was just winging it every day. And Daniel was one of the customers that came in and I fell in love with him. And then my manager at the time, Abby, she was good friends with Daniel. So he would come in to see her. So I always got to visit with him. And then it was a brief amount of time because you traveled. Didn't you go you went on a quite long trip, didn't you?
I took a trip to Botswana for about 2 weeks, right around the time that I was coming to the cafe. So I know I was talking about my departure soon.
Yeah, that's right.
So I did that, and I went to Egypt for a week on another trip. But I think it was around the time I was going to Botswana that we had connected. So yeah, that was a fun adventure.
Yeah, we got to talk about that. So
yeah, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about you. I mean, you've been in the dog world for a while. I was reading your bio. I thought it was so interesting. I want you to start at the beginning. You are originally from Chicago?
Well, I lived in Chicago for 12 years.
Okay.
I moved there in 2005 after my undergrad. So I was originally born in Brussels, Belgium.
Oh, wow.
And lived there for 7 years, and then moved to the States when I was in 3rd grade.
No kidding.
And then I lived in Boston for 4 years. Then I moved to Indiana. And then I was in Indiana all through high school. And then I started college in Indiana.
So were your parents originally from Belgium?
No, I had American parents who were missionaries. So they were living overseas for 8 years.
Oh, that's so interesting and cool. Okay, so I was wondering like why they would choose to come back to the United States.
Yeah, they're both American. They were coming home after that was over to then sort of get their careers going after doing some mission work.
So do you have have any memories of living there, or were you too tiny?
I do have some memories, of being in Belgium, of the places we would visit, the other countries we would go to, going to people's houses and seeing their dogs. So there are little spotlight memories from my 7-year-old self in Belgium.
Wow, that must have been so weird for you to move from a different country to the United States and just plop.
Yeah, it was my first home. It was where all my friends were. I was used to it. I spoke French with my friends at school, and in spare time I spoke English at home. And then all of a sudden we were uprooted, and I was in Boston, and I was being called Belgium boy, and I was being teased because my English sounded a little different because I didn't have a Boston accent, and I came from Belgium. So it was quite an adjustment to move to the States for the first time, feeling American because my parents were American, but not having lived in America. The kids could tell I wasn't an American kid. And so, there was some adjustment, some fitting in, some getting teased a little bit.
Have you ever gone back?
I have. I went back to Belgium last summer.
Really?
And got to revisit my childhood home with my mom and spend a couple days there. So that was cool to go back.
Oh, that is great.
Everything was much smaller because I'm much bigger. So that was a big adjustment.
Isn't that weird? I know my great grandmother lived in the desert in Palm Springs in Healing Waters at the end of Palm Springs. And I remember going there when I was a kid, and I was telling my kids there's this huge neighborhood that we used to ride our bikes around, and it's really just a small trailer park with one little roundabout. And I went back and I was like, oh, this is not quite as big as I anticipated.
In your mind, it was massive.
Yeah, it was like, this is a whole town.
Yeah.
No, it's just literally a trailer park. There's nothing more than that.
Yeah.
So how did you, because in your bio, you said that you've never actually had a pet dog.
Yeah.
Which I think is so interesting and so cool. And what made you decide that you wanted to work with animals?
There was always an interest and a passion in animals and dogs. And so there's always that curiosity. When it came down to practically getting to working with dogs, what sort of planted that seed of working with dogs and understanding them was watching the television show The Dog Whisperer.
Oh, yeah,
and
Caesar.
When I saw that on the TV, I was captivated. So I read all the books I could find that he wrote. Yeah. And that really planted the seed of interest in dogs and understanding how they think. And so I was in San Francisco looking for a job, and I found an ad on Craigslist for dog trainer wanted with no experience necessary.
Oh, how neat.
And so the only experience I had was watching the Dog Whisperer show and reading the books. And so they started me at the lowest level, picking up poop, changing water bowls, staying away from the more troubled, aggressive dogs. But in San Francisco, I got my first job hands-on working with dogs. And from there, I quickly sort of climbed the ranks to head trainer, and then realized it was time for me to forge out on my own and start my own company. So I moved back to Chicago from San Francisco and created Clear Canine Academy. But that was where I got my first experience working with dogs, was in San Francisco. And then from there, I just started doing my own thing.
Wow, that's so interesting. What makes Maui dog owners different than the dog owners that you dealt with in the mainland?
That's a great question because there is a different dog and there's different people, different climate, different culture.
Right.
The Maui dog owner is used to a lot of freedom, going to beaches, spends a lot of time outside. And they don't always have the benefit of the urban sort of accessories that people do in a city. Like some of my clients don't have a sidewalk outside of their house. So when I talk about taking their dog for a walk, they've got to put their dog into a car and drive them somewhere where they can walk their dog. So sometimes there's that going on. People have bigger properties and more land sometimes here on Maui. So the dogs have more space, whereas in a city, no one's got space and everyone's fighting for space in the dog park or the park. So I would say that's there's a little more of a laid back openness on Maui, just because of the way the land is and the way nature is. And also they just get to be more active throughout the year because there's no winter.
Yeah. And I'm imagining that when you're training dogs in the city, you're just training them. I mean, because they solely spend 90% of their time in their houses, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what part of the city you were in where, I don't know if they were in condos or if there's like a lot of houses with yards?
It was a mixture, but most houses didn't have a big yard.
Yeah.
Whether it was a townhome, a full home, a condo, and a high rise, there wasn't a lot of yard space. So then it was meeting at dog parks or meeting in parks. So space was definitely at a premium. So the dogs here really have it made in terms of, they have 8 acres in Kula, big park to run around.
That's true. And here I was in the city, like I was in New York last year, and I was like, I really love what their city parks do. They have water bottle filling stations and they have dog watering stations, which I thought was so cool. And I'm like, we don't have any of that. And then I realized, well, our dogs are pretty darn lucky.
Yeah, they are. They don't have to deal with the temperatures. And even if your dog is in the city and they live in a high rise, they can be fulfilled just as much as a dog who lives on an 8-acre farm in the country in Hawaii. So just because they live in a city or on Maui doesn't mean that they can't have their needs fulfilled and live a rich life. Because sometimes people will hold back from getting a dog because they're waiting to have a big enough yard or they want to have.
Yeah.
And I often tell people that's not necessarily a requirement to have a healthy relationship with your dog. So there's some things that kind of stand out there of the difference between the people and Maui and the people in Chicago.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because like South Kihei, there's only, like we talked about this last week, historically, there's only been about 2 complexes that even allow dogs.
That's the thing too, pet friendly. There's a lot more pet friendly options in Chicago. It's tough on Maui to find a place that allows you and your pet to live together.
And you go figure, we have so much more space and more place to roam, but
you would think
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's dive into some of my questions, and then we have a ton of questions from the audience. And I just want you to I want you to share all the things.
Let's do it. Talk until I drop.
What are you seeing right now on Maui that concerns you when it comes to the lack of dog training?
What concerns me, I guess, is that there is maybe just a lack of resources. We had HARF and we had Maui Humane Society. HARF is no longer open.
That's right.
So just the resource of rescue and shelter, it's pretty slim, and the Humane Society does a wonderful job, but they're the only major entity that's doing rescue. So there's that. That's sort of an issue when they're at capacity of what can we do. So that's definitely something I would say.
I got to meet them when they came and spoke to our Rotary Club a year and a half ago or something like that. And it was disappointing to see that they weren't able to keep their doors open and continue to do what they were doing. It sucks. Yeah. If you're just tuning in, it's Daniel from Clear Canine Academy. We're talking all things dog training. So if you have questions, you can still text me if you want. I had all my friends were like, a dog trainer? This is so exciting. Oh my gosh. Okay. So what is the number one mistake people make before they even start training?
I would say that the number one mistake people make before they start training is not understanding how important it is to have a plan and a routine before you bring the dog home. Because sometimes I will ask people, when do you want to start working with your dog? And they think the dog has to be a certain age before we can start doing lessons. But what I like to remind people of is that dog starts learning and building a relationship with you from the moment it enters your life and the moment you meet it. Yeah. So understanding the importance of the first greeting you have with a dog, and that's usually done at the shelter or maybe at a breeder or at a foster home. Mm-hmm. But the first impression is so deep. So when you first make contact with a dog, even if you decide you're not going to bring them to your home, the way you communicate in that first interaction can lay such a foundation for the relationship, let alone having a practical plan of what's my first month going to look like when I bring this dog home to make this a successful adoption or a successful rehome or just a successful puppy start from the ground up. So having a plan and getting into it right away.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like being prepared in a way and not just winging it.
It kind of really makes sense even to my situation with our dog too, because our dog was a rescue we got at the Humane Society. We took her to Hana a week after we got her, not realizing that that's where she was rescued.
Oh, wow.
So she ran away and she ran directly back to the house that rescued her, which was the Humane Society lady from Maui Humane Society in Hana. And when we brought her back to Kihei, my daughter was dog sitting another dog, a mini pit bull. and the pit bull attacked my daughter in the
I
house.
see.
And our dog jumped in and got that dog to unlock his jaw on my daughter.
Okay.
But now has taken this whole job of I need to be protection as like to the 10th level. So it makes sense because that was in the first less than 2 weeks of us even having her in the house.
Yeah.
So that makes a lot of sense. It starts from the day that you meet your dog.
Yeah. And when you bring a dog that's maybe been in a shelter or been in a different environment for a little while and you bring him into your environment, it takes about a month plus for total settling in. But the first month especially is about how long it takes for a dog to assimilate and integrate into a new environment. So sometimes dogs have to come out of shelter shock because they are just in an energetic state of being kind of on edge and frazzled from the shelter environment.
Yeah.
They may also be coming off of meds from the shelter environment.
Right.
So there's a lot of decompression from the shelter experience that happens when the dog comes to your house. Let alone once that wears off, then the sort of getting into a groove with you in your new home. So it's important to have a decompression scenario ready for your dog when they come into your home. We're not going to overwhelm you with a lot of toys, talking, or treats because you're just settling into
Figuring out where you live.
Yeah.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Yeah,
They're getting their environment. They're like, okay, I've been through so much scary stuff. Because you don't want to think that the Humane Society is a scary place. But I mean, imagine.
It's not, I would say it's not scary so much as it's like negative. It's just most dogs don't know what they did to end up there. They don't know why they're in a car driving to a shelter. They don't know what foul they committed that got them put into a kennel. So I think there's a lot of confusion that dogs have because why am I here in this new place? Maybe their people went back to the mainland and they just had to, for whatever reason, the dog didn't even do anything, but one day they ended up in a car and then they end up there and then the person was never seen again.
Yeah.
So there can be some confusion there of why am I here? And then the next thing they know, they're in a new place. Well, that's someone who maybe adopted them. Well, why am I here? How long will I be here for? You know, is this a forever home? So I think there's a lot of confusion on dogs' part because they don't know what they're in for, so to speak. And then when they meet someone new and they're going to an adoption, it's going to take some time before, oh, I've been here a week, I've been here 3 weeks, I've been here 2 months. I think I'm in my forever home. I've got some routines going. But for the first week or two, they don't know if they're going to go back to the shelter.
Oh,
they don't know
so sad.
if they're coming or going. Yeah.
It's so sad. Oh my gosh. You guys, if you don't have a dog and you really want a dog, go out and adopt. I'm going to tell everybody to adopt a dog and then call Daniel, of course, if you're on the island of Maui.
Love to help.
So then you already answered my question at what age should we start training? And that is immediately.
As soon as they're home.
When people say their dog is stubborn, is that real or are they misunderstanding their dog?
I would say it's real. It's actually happening. The dog's being stubborn, but the way they're understanding it is a little bit of a misconception. That's the story that the dog is stubborn, but the truth might be that the person isn't consistent. So maybe the dog learns that the person's going to ask me to sit. I'm not going to sit. And then they're going to walk away and just go and change their mind to something else. They're going to go play with their phone.
Right.
So maybe the dog learns that I don't really need to listen to you because you don't follow through. So sometimes it can be that the dog just knows how to manipulate the situation. You're going to forget about this in a minute. You're going to walk away. Or, yeah, I heard what you said. You told me to sit. And I'm not going to sit. And you're not actually going to follow through. So I would say sometimes it's that people are just inconsistent.
Yep.
That they ask their dog to do something and they don't actually get their dog to do that thing. And in that, the dog learns, oh, I can just stand here for a while and ignore you, and then it'll all go away.
It sounds like having a toddler.
You know, I used to teach preschool, and there's a lot of similarities between little kids and dogs because it's about calm, consistent, follow through.
Isn't that true?
Yeah, so it can be, but dogs can be stubborn.
How much of a dog's behavior is the owner's energy? I guess you kind of just explained it. It kind of is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot because they're part of the group. They're part of the family. Dogs are sensitive. They're picking up on the energy in the room that is driving their behavior. And when dogs behave a certain way around their person and don't behave that way when they're not around their person, that's a real telling sign from the dog saying, I'm doing this when that person is near me, and I'm not doing this when they're away. So it's showing that the relationship or the energy is affecting what the dog's doing.
Yeah.
because it depends on the person's presence. And dogs go off energy so much that they feel the vibes. And so if there's a really anxious person in the household or a really nervous person in the household,
Yeah.
the dog is going to reflect that in their behavior because they're going to feel it, because someone in their group is a very anxious animal. It just happens to be a person.
Oh, that's a good point, right? Because you can always tell when you're going through something and your dog kind of like latches onto you.
Yeah.
So they do know that emotion that you have.
They're a mirror. There's a great book called Your Dog is Your Mirror that you really literally cannot hide anything you're thinking, you're feeling around your dogs, because they can pick up on how you're feeling, the stress hormones, the chemicals your body's releasing. They can smell those chemicals in your body. So yeah, you just can't hide the way you're feeling around a dog.
That's
They're-
interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are dogs trying to communicate when they bark constantly? I mean, it could be like a
Yeah.
lot of things.
That's a great. You're right. Every situation with the dog is very nuanced because it's very individual, and there's often a lot of questions of, well, how old is the dog? Where do they live? Do they
Yeah.
live with other dogs? But practically speaking, a very short answer to that is there can be a lot of reasons. It could be that when they bark, they get what they want.
Yeah.
It could be because they're really excited at that time. But sometimes excessive barking is from lack of exercise.
Ooh.
So if the dog is not getting enough structured exercise, that energy has to go somewhere, and it sometimes turns into excessive barking, digging, chasing the tail, excessive chewing. So that's more of a symptom. Excessive barking could be a symptom of a lack of enough exercise. So that could be the dog's way of saying, I need to have more exercise.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, so that could be that too. There could be a dog that's just nervous or anxious, and so that's the dog's way of saying, I'm nervous and anxious about the noise I heard outside or the fireworks or something going on. So it really is situational.
Yeah.
But it's not normal for dogs to excessively bark. They will bark to alert, but usually that stops.
So I guess we can say that dogs do experience the same type of anxiety that humans do.
They do, because if you're experiencing anxiety, your dog's experiencing it with you.
Oh.
And so it's really one of the most beautiful things dogs have taught me is they're here to help people with their own self-care.
Ooh.
Because if you don't help yourself out with your anxiety issue,
Yeah.
your dog is going to reflect it and feel it and deal with it. And so we could talk about what are we doing to help the dog's anxiety and the dog's nervousness and tension. But if we don't pay some attention to our own contribution to that conversation, it maybe is unfair to the dog to say it's all on them. If I'm really anxious and nervous and I put my dog on a leash, they're going to
Yeah.
be dealing with my energy. So dogs want us to take great care of ourselves and love ourselves. And sometimes that's why we have a dog that reflects our anxiety back to us, is to help us maybe do some yoga or some meditation or work out more,
Profound.
some acupuncture. You know,
Profound.
dogs are deep.
Dogs are deep. How do you handle recall training when we live somewhere with beaches and distractions everywhere?
Yeah, so distractions are the biggest arch nemesis for a dog.
Right.
Because when they don't know something well, distractions will just make them forget everything. So if you want to teach something, anything, but especially recall, you have to go to a non-distractive environment. Set your dog up for success by going somewhere with zero distractions. Get your dog to master recall with zero distractions as a foundation. Then proof that with distractions present. But do your dog a favor. Don't teach them where they're distracted. Teach them where they're not distracted. Then test what they learned with a distraction to see if it can hold up to a distraction. But you're doing your dog a disservice if you try to teach them at the beach. So I would say go to
Oh.
your own yard or in your house where there's no distractions. Put a long line on your dog. So when you ask them to come to you and they ignore you or blow you off, you have a way to follow through and say, no, I need you to come over here. When I call you, it's kind of non-negotiable because it might be stay away from the street. It might be stay away from that turtle, right? If I say come here, I need you to come here. You're not in trouble, but I need you to listen. If you don't have a leash on your dog and you're saying come here, and they're just standing looking at you from across the room like, oh, you have such nice shoes, but they're not moving, you now can't follow through on what you ask. So your dog's going to learn to ignore you. Well, here I am not moving and I hear you saying come. So you have to use a leash. I would always have a
Yeah.
leash on when I'm first teaching. And eventually we can get the leash out of the equation. But when I start off, I look at it like training wheels on a bike. There's going to be a leash on you. so that we can just get a good rapport going of what I'm asking for. Now, if I take the leash off and you're still giving me that behavior, we don't need the leash. But if it's a little less consistent when the leash goes off, I took the training wheels off too soon. But number one, anytime you're teaching a dog something new, distractions must be controlled and minimized as much as possible because it's not fair to your dog. You wouldn't go have your first chess lesson in Times Square midnight on New Year's Eve. It just wouldn't work.
Isn't that the truth, right? Oh my gosh. Well, you are locked into 88.5 FM radio, the voice of Maui. We are about to take a quick break. This is Talkative Radio. We're talking all things dog training today. So if you're listening, don't hesitate to give us a call and ask us your questions. We will be right back.
Just drift away, turn the dial just a little to the left or right. That familiar voice make the whole day bright. They talk of life.
Akaku Upstairs presents the
Who's got something to say from the school run chaos to the
Lou Diliberto. Join us Thursday, February 19th. Doors open at 5:30 p.m. Program 6 to 7:30 p.m. at 333 Dairy Road, Suite 204, Kahului. Admission is free. RSVP encouraged by calling 8088-715-5554 or visiting akaku.org.
A Hawaii judge has unsealed previously hidden interview evidence in the attempted murder case against Maui anesthesiologist Gerhard Koenig, who allegedly tried to kill his wife by injecting her with an unknown substance and pushing her off the Pali in Oahu. The unsealed materials included statements from Koenig's ex-wife about alleged past misconduct. Koenig's trial is tentatively scheduled for early March.
The County of Maui Department of Parks and Recreation, in partnership with One Love Skate, will host a free Keopuolani Skate Jam on Saturday, February 28th, featuring skate lessons, contests, music, games, and prizes for all ages. Registration begins at 2:45 in the afternoon, with activities running from 3 to 6 p.m. at Keopuolani Skate Park. Helmets and pads are recommended.
Chinese New Year celebrations are coming up around the island. The county will be hosting lion dancers and martial arts next Friday, the 20th, at 9 a.m. on the front lawn of the county building in Wailuku. Also Friday, Lahaina Cannery Mall's annual Chinese New Year celebration welcomes the Year of the Fire Horse with a traditional lion dance at 2:30 p.m. The family-friendly event includes hands-on activities and cultural celebrations for all ages.
And you're locked into 88.5 FM radio, the voice of Maui. This is Talkative Radio, where we stay bold, we stay curious, and most importantly, we stay talkative. I'm your host, Allie B, and today in the studio I have Daniel, and we're talking everything dog training. He's from Clear K9 Academy, and we're knee deep in learning about dogs' behavior today on the show, and I'm just super thrilled to have Daniel in. He's a close friend of mine, and I want him to be a close friend of you. So don't forget, at the end of the show, I'm going to give you all of his information. So if you want to access him, pick his brain, hire him, learn about him, I'm going to give you all the opportunities. So you got to stay with us here on this one. So I want to open up to some questions because we had a lot of people asking questions. And then, of course, I still have 700 other questions that I have written down.
They never end. Let's get into it.
Keone from Kihei asks, my dog goes wild walking past other dogs at Cove Park. How do I reduce leash reactivity?
Okay, so that's a big one. People have a lot of leash reactivity issues where a dog gets really excited because they see something that they want to get to.
Yeah.
So the way to reduce that is to start having more structured walks away from that distraction. And what you're trying to build up is relevance. You want to have more relevance between you and your dog, which really just looks like a connection where your dog's checking in with you a lot, giving you eye contact, and you're a little more on the same page together as a team, because you need to take that pack team mentality into the environment, which is the cove where those exciting dogs are that distract the dog. So if you don't have a connection before you get to that cove, you're going to have a hard time maintaining a connection once they get distracted by that thing. So you have to have a good connection before you get around the distraction. So again, we're back to the topic of distractions. The distractions are the cove dogs that get my dog excited, Keone's dog's excited. Keone needs to practice a different kind of walk away from the cove for a while,
right?
Where he's seen as more of the driving instructor, the more the chauffeur for the walk with the dog, and the dog is following and looking at him before we go into, here comes the cove, but I need you to remember me and don't forget about the person, and just go into excitedly reacting. So it takes a lot of time and commitment and consistency and practice, but what you want to do is create a different walk away from the distractions.
Oh, good point.
And then come around the distractions. You also have to practically look at a couple things as well, is the kind of tool you're using when you're walking your dog around distractions.
Yeah.
The big thing is your energy when you're walking around distractions. So as people, we tend to go into stories. Here comes that beach where my dog always goes crazy. So we already start tensing up. Our body starts telling this whole story of there's going to be these dogs and my dog's going to explode. So your dog's reading your energy and the picture in your mind. So if you're already manifesting an explosion between your dog and those cove dogs, it's more likely to happen.
Right.
But if you walk with this state of mind, like we're going to be calm, we're going to be relaxed together, everything's going to be fine, we're going to walk right past this cove and my dog's not going to explode. I'm not saying that's going to stop the explosion from happening, but if you agree that it's going to go bad, then the universe is going to agree with you.
Yeah.
So setting up the right state of mind and energy as the person of, okay, here, this is going to happen, but I'm going to stay calm. We're going to keep moving. So there's a couple different layers, but the tool, our energy is one thing, and then practicing away from the distractions to be a little more on the same page before we get around the distractions. But I wouldn't just keep trying to walk by the distractions. It's not going to get better until you change things somewhere else. It's kind of like pulling your car over. You got to change your tire before you can get back on the road.
So Keone, you need to stay away from Cove Park for a while. You need to walk around the neighborhood and get your dog knowing that you're the boss, right?
Yeah.
That's actually a really good point, because I feel like my daughter would just continuously go back to the same place, and then it's just the same repetitive type of situation like that Keone's dealing with. Okay, Sarah from Wailuku. My 6-month-old puppy still has accidents. Am I behind on training?
6 months is not rare for there to be potty issues. Puppyhood goes from 0 to 8 months. So it's still considered a puppy. 6 months would be maybe a little behind in the game in terms of if you have been trying to potty train since the beginning. But I want to reassure you, Sarah, you're not a lost cause. It's not a done deal. Many people still have potty issues at the 6-month mark and get it turned around very quickly. The biggest way to turn around potty issues is having a consistent schedule of taking the dog out routinely at set times, and then also having a good management plan inside the home where you're either using a crate, a pen, or a leash, so you know where your dog is inside the house to prevent accidents from happening, while also going out regularly. But 6 months is not a lost cause at all, and it can totally be solved.
Crate training,
easily.
How many hours do you think is an acceptable amount of hours? And then, I mean, what is too much?
Yeah, that's a great question. The crate is a big conversation topic. It's so important to dogs, and it's one of the things I found people have one of the hardest times accepting or getting comfortable with. To answer your question, dogs sleep about 12 to 16 hours in a 24-hour period.
Wow.
So let's say 8 hours of sleeping at night, that takes us to about 6 to 8 hours of daytime.
Okay.
Right? So 6 to 8 daytime hours of sleep is what a dog typically does. So if I have an adult dog who's crate trained, the longest I would ever have them be in a crate is if they were an adult, they had had enough exercise and gone bathroom before I put them in, and that would be 6 hours.
Okay, that's good to know.
That's the most I would ask an adult dog to do in the crate for one consecutive stretch. You can over-crate your dog, having them in there too long, and especially if you haven't exercised them before you crate them, you're not being fair to your dog because they want to sleep. But if they're full of energy, they don't want to lay in the crate and sleep. But if you drain their energy, then they're going to sleep. So it's important that you are giving them the right amount of rest and dogs are denning animals, and dogs without crates often have problems with anxiety, nervousness, and overexcitement. So it's really a crib for a baby, for a dog. But you can overdo it. You can do too much. But I haven't really met anyone who is overdoing it, because most people are afraid to put their dog into a crate because they think it's going to be punishment or negative. But the reality is, a lot of dogs I work with are under rested. They don't ever get a chance to really just turn everything off and lay down, because they're always distracted by a sound or a noise or following someone around the house. They're just ping-ponging all day. And that can be a little unsettling for a dog. So that's a great question.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Jason from Lahaina asked, my dog pulls so hard on the leash it feels like I am in a tug of war. What's the fix?
Practically speaking, we're going to look at the tool first. If this dog is wearing a body harness, then we're not surprised, because the harness was made for dogs to pull things.
Oh.
Yes. That's why harnesses
I never even
exist.
thought about that. So
Yeah.
do you like a harness versus leash or a collar?
If I'm trying to teach a dog to stop pulling, I'm not going to have them in a harness. Because when dogs feel the harness pull back on their chest, which is usually when the person is pulling the leash tight and saying, stop pulling,
it creates them to want to
pull forward. It's called oppositional reflex. So when a dog feels pressure going backwards, it makes their body want to pull forward into the pressure. So the pulling back from the person tells the dog's brain, pull forward. So every time the person pulls back, the dog pulls forward harder. So by mashing on the harness and pulling back hard, we're only giving more encouragement to the dog to pull forward.
Wow. I literally never knew that. That's very enlightening. I'm really glad Jason asked this question.
That's a great
Thank you,
one,
Jason.
because pulling's a big issue.
Jason. Malia and Kahului. Our rescue still seems anxious months later. How long does the adjustment normally take? You said it could take like a few weeks, but...
It could, up to 3 months, because the first month is just getting into patterns and routines. And then there's just about 2 more months of things just really cementing and settling in. So if there's still anxiety at this point, then it means that you might want to look at making some changes in the home environment. Look at giving more exercise. Look at, are you using a crate or are you not? What kind of structure do you have? Structure and rules and boundaries are actually the medicine for anxious dogs, because sometimes they fail in too much freedom or under a lack of guidance. You can also use CBD if you want to help a dog be less anxious or nervous. But if it's been that long, it might just be a sensitive dog with a really traumatic past. But oftentimes there's some small yet big changes you can make in the home environment and the routine. But the number one thing I would say is make sure that dog is getting enough walks and enough exercise, because that's the number one drainer of anxious and nervous energy is physical exercise. Running next to a bike, going for a long walk, running on a treadmill, swimming. That's how a dog gets rid of that anxious, nervous energy out of their body. Exercise.
So are you pro dog park or anti dog park? What do you think of dog parks?
I say it just depends on the situation. If you and me and our other 2 friends get together every morning at 8 at the dog park and all our dogs know each other and they play great, there's no reason for us to stop meeting at the dog park.
Okay.
If I go to a dog park and I'm new in town and I don't know anybody, or there's people I don't know showing up with their dog, I'm going to be a little more cautious, because I don't know how well trained the dog is. I don't know the health status of that dog, and I don't know how receptive the person might be to me saying, hey, your dog's kind of bugging my dog, or your dog stole my dog's toy. So I'm cautionary about dog parks. They can be really great, but make sure you know what's going on. You're reading the room.
Right.
You're seeing when maybe it's time to go.
Yeah.
Oh, they're our friends. We're great. I don't know about that dog. Okay, that dog's kind of doing some things. So just be really aware, because they're great when they're great, but sometimes something can happen at a dog park that can take months or years to undo, like an attack. So it's not a done deal. But let's kind of examine what's going on.
It's usually the old lady with the stick. That's just my experience in Kihei.
Watch out.
But we're going to keep going. Okay, Chris from Kihei asks, my dog only listens when I have treats. Did I create a snack dependency? That's a good question, because I feel like, everyone leans towards the treat when they want their dog to pay attention.
Yeah.
Do you think?
They do. The dog knows what's going on.
It's like a baby, right?
It
like
is.
They're going to take the candy.
Yeah, and they're like, you have the bargaining chip in your hand, so whatever you're asking for, I'll do it because I see the treat in your hand. But if the hand is empty, then the dog's like, what am I going to get out of this, right? So you do have that. You do have a dog who's sort of learned how to manipulate the situation, only because of the way you're using food. And I'm a big fan of using treats as well, too. But I want to make sure that my dog's doing things even when I don't have food. So a way that I like to teach that is I will ask for behavior without food in my hands. And when they give me the behavior, then I present food as a payoff on the back end. But I don't show my hand early on. So I don't have food in my hand when I'm asking for them to do the thing, because then it turns into my dog looking at me and saying, your hands are too empty to be giving me commands.
Oh, wow. That's a good point.
So I start with the commands with nothing in my hands. But here's your paycheck for doing it, instead of dangling the paycheck.
Yeah.
Because now the dog knows, okay, so it's sort of like if you do what I ask, I'll give you this, but I don't need to show you that I have it to get you to do it.
What about treats? Do you have do you have a specific type of treats that you use when you're working with dogs?
Yeah, my favorite one is called Ziwi Peak. They're out of New Zealand.
Okay.
And they are air dried meat.
Oh, wow.
And they can be used as food or a topper or a treat. I like them for a couple of reasons. They're small and pre-cut squares that are flat, so they're not going to fill your dog up. They're very easy to dispense because they're pre-cut. They're all natural. It's just air-dried meat and some vegetables.
Ooh, that's
so
good.
There's not a lot of fillers, not a lot of cookie and biscuit. Dogs love meat anyways. And so, yeah, they're just ready to go and really healthy, and dogs respond to them really well.
That's great. I'm going to make sure that I write that down and we put that in our show notes so you can go back and you can find out more about that.
Yeah.
Emily in Makawao writes, my dog barks at every passing car on the road. How do we stop that habit?
So what you want to do is you want to, away from the road and the cars, what I would do is start creating a yes marker. And that means charging the word yes with food, that the dog understands when I say yes, I'm going to pay you a treat. And then when I have a charged yes marker, if I go back around the cars a week or two later, and the dog starts interacting with the cars and I say yes, the dog should turn away from the cars and turn to me because they know what I'm about to give them. So it's a way of interrupting the behavior. And I know some people listening might think, didn't you just reward the dog? A car came by, they barked, you said yes, but it's not, because I'm taking time to charge the yes word. So I have to have a bridge, a way to get through to my dog's brain when that car is coming down the road, to pull them out of that. And by charging the word yes with food beforehand, I can use it in that high intense situation, like, here comes the car, I need to interrupt my dog.
God, that's so good. Oh my God, that's so good.
That's a big one for people.
Okay, Daniel and Wailea said, what's the safest way to introduce a newborn baby to our dog? Which is definitely a relevant question in my household because my daughter's pregnant and I'm going to be hiring Daniel to train my daughter's dog. Let's pray.
Yes, we'll let the people know how it goes.
So yeah, what is the protocol when it comes to a newborn? Because I know, like, we love our dogs, and I told my daughter, like, I know that you love your dog, but then your baby comes home and then you're like, you know, like, how do we make our dog feel like the dog is still a part of the family and not be worried that the dog might bite the baby?
Yeah, that's a very real concern that people have. And the dog is now having to share some of the person's attention with the baby. And sometimes they get kind of slid down the ladder of who's getting the first greeting and all the snuggles, you know. That does go away, and dogs are sensitive to that because they're very much a part of your family. So the most important thing that I like to tell people when it comes to bringing a baby home is that we want the dog to associate the baby with calm energy and space and some form of distance. So what I like to say is, when you first bring the dog, the baby home, is make sure the dogs are exercised and tired before you come in. And dogs are naturally curious through their nose. They're going to want to sniff the baby because dogs are scent driven primarily. So what you want is them to be in a calm energy with some space they're giving. Picture maybe like a 3-foot bubble around the person holding the baby, and just stand there and don't really say much, but let the dog start to get smell going from a distance, because in the dog world, distance is respect. So we're not asking the dog to come right on top of the baby and put its paws on the baby or lay right next to the baby right away. We want them to understand we are setting the boundaries around the baby. We are bringing a baby in, but we're not turning the baby over to the dogs for childcare, where they might become possessive or say, this is my baby now because I lay with it all day. But we want them to associate the baby with my mind state is calm and I'm giving it distance, which is I'm giving it respect. You don't have to put the smell of the baby diaper in the crate. You don't have to do all those things. It's really about when they first meet the baby. Do they associate it with calm and with space? And that lets the dog know that you, the person, will be managing how this relationship goes between them, so that they don't think like they have to take that baby on as their responsibility.
Have you ever met anyone that didn't have a good experience introducing their baby to a dog? I mean, I guess there is, right? Statistically.
Yeah. The baby was maybe in a stroller the first time, and the dog didn't like strollers.
Oh.
So unfortunately, because the dog didn't like strollers, it transposed that onto the baby, because the baby first was shown to them in a stroller. So it wasn't how the dog felt about the baby.
It was the stroller.
But it all got fused together for the dog because the smell of the baby was fused with the stroller.
Oh, wow.
Because in that moment, it was smelling the baby and seeing the stroller move. So there have been some times when it's been a bad or rough first start, or the baby is anxious and crying and the dog is hovering around the baby all the time, and the person's sort of allowing it instead of maybe asking the dog to move away from the baby and saying, well, we'll take care of the baby. It's not your job. So, so that's sometimes has happened, which is stressful because, you have a new child, which takes a lot of time and energy.
Yeah.
And then you have this new sort of dog issue.
And then your dog, I know that I can tell that my daughter's dog senses that she's pregnant.
They know.
I think they kind of know, right? So by the time you're coming home with that baby, that was a good tip, though, to make sure that the dog is completely exhausted.
Yes, calm is
very
king.
Calm is everything, right?
Yeah, but they know from the moment you conceive. They know before you go get a pregnancy test.
Nohalani from Haiku asked, my dog won't come when called at Baldwin Beach. How do I rebuild recall?
Okay, so...
apparently her dog's off leash.
Right. So we would not practice recall off leash anymore at that place because we know what we're going to get. Our dog's already shown us this is what you do at Baldwin without a leash. So we're going to have to start using a leash. And recall is really built around relationship. It's you asking the dog to drop everything and come to you. So a lot of it is looking at who does my dog think I am to them in their world. But we would go to a long line. We would go off of the beach, away from the distraction. You could say the beach is like our graduation moment. We're going to work back towards that, but we got to go back to like the woodshed and get our tools out and read. So we're going to use a long line. We're going to use some food. We're going to teach recall away from that distracted environment. But the first time we come back to the beach, we're going to do it with the long line on, because history has shown us my dog tends to blow me off and run away at the beach. And the only way something is going to change at the beach is if something changes at the beach. So if I don't show up with a different setup the next time I come back to the beach, I'll probably get the same results. But again, we're going to practice recall away from the beach because it has distractions.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. So don't take the dog to Baldwin Beach until we rectify the situation.
The beach is not a classroom.
The beach is not a classroom. Megan from Wailuku, is crate training healthy and can it cause anxiety? Well, we talked a little bit about crate training, but can it cause anxiety for the dog?
It can if you don't know how to introduce the crate correctly. So
just shoving the dog in the crate is not...
That's not ideal.
Keeping the crate open for the dog to explore?
Well, the steps I take is it's about a 17 to 20 step process, but we take it one step every way until they are comfortable walking in the front door. They're comfortable laying down. They're comfortable with me being 5 feet away, 10 feet away, 20 feet away. There's a lot of steps that take to introducing a crate correctly, where you don't give too much distance right away. You don't put the dog in the crate, close the door, and leave for the store right away on the first day, because now they associate the crate with separation.
That's a good point.
But if you associate the crate with togetherness by putting them in the crate and sitting next to them in your lazy boy and watching an episode of your favorite show, now the crate means togetherness. So they don't think you're putting me in here because next thing you're heading out the door. So you have to sort of look at it from their perspective of what does the crate mean? It means togetherness. together. So if you introduce it correctly, you won't have those things. And ironically, the crate prevents anxiety from developing. Most of the dogs I work with have anxiety because they don't have a crate.
Oh, good point.
But because dogs have an intrinsic need in their DNA to den, if you introduce the crate correctly, you tap into something they're already looking for. And for anyone listening, if you don't have a crate, there's probably a good chance your dog sleeps under a table, behind a couch, in a closet, or in the shower in the back of the house.
Yeah.
Those are all ways that a dog is doing denning behaviors because they weren't given a crate. But if you introduce it correctly, you won't have anxiety.
What about outdoor crates versus indoor crates? Do we like outdoor crates?
Outdoor crates can be okay.
Or what they would call a dog run?
Yeah, they can be okay if used in the right moderation and the right dog, with the right dog. But because they're outside of the envelope of the house, there's sometimes a dog being in their own world out there. And if they spend time in a crate inside the home, inside the four walls, the dog's a little more enveloped in the family unit instead of the dog who's outside for 8 hours by themselves, kind of making their own rules and doing what they want. So I'm a big fan of having the crate inside the house, but I'm not opposed to, I have a dog run because I leave my dog out there for an hour or two when I go to town because I want them to get some fresh air.
Yeah.
They can be great. It's really about how much you're using it,
right,
and what kind of behaviors your dog has in the dog run. Are they chewing the bars? Are they digging holes in the ground? Are they barking excessively at your neighbor from the dog run? Maybe we need to change some things, but they're not bad off the just in general.
Okay, that's good to know. Let's see, Brian from Kula. Can you train an older dog with years of bad habits?
You can teach an old dog new tricks, old habits and behaviors. They just take longer to grow out of those because they've been practicing them for longer. So the rule with dog behavior is the longer a dog has been practicing it, the better they are at it, and the longer it will take to grow out of it. But because dogs notice everything in their environment, the second you make a change, they will notice and adapt to it. But they may just be a little more trenched into that behavior because it's a 7-year-old behavior, which means the person has to be really consistent about charting a new course with their dog. So you can change a dog's behavior even if they're old. You just have to be a little more committed to them being like, this is totally out of left field. It's been 7 years of doing it this way. What got into you today?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, I also want you to tell all of our listeners, how can they get a hold of you? What is your website information, phone information, all of that good stuff?
Yeah. So you can find my website at www.cleark9academy.com. That's clear, and then the letter K and the number 9 academy.com. You can find me on Google Business, Clear K9 Academy. You can find me on Instagram at Daniel Christian Charles. I post some of my dog stuff on there and some personal stuff as well too. But my website or a Google search, phone number is 808-856-5366, and my email is daniel@cleark9academy.com.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what? This has been such an exciting week, you guys. I'm so grateful to have you in the studio. I hope that you can make it back because we didn't even get through half of the questions that we had today. So maybe we need to bring Daniel back. And I'm sure my listeners would love it.
I would love to.
You guys are locked into 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. This has been Talkative Radio. I'm your host, Allie B. Don't forget to stay bold, stay curious, and stay talkative. Until next week. Also, next week on our show, we have a financial advisor coming in. So please call me, text me with all of your financial advising questions, all the things that you want to ask our next guest. And if you would also like to be a guest on our show, don't forget to give me an email at talkative885@gmail. We're still working on our website, but it should be up in the next couple days. So I'm looking forward to it. Daniel, thank you so much for being in the studio. I hope you guys have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
I turn up the talk, turn up the talk, turn up the talk. When I want it all, and when I want it all, turn up the talk, and when I want it all.
The Grateful Dead played a different set list at every show. Since no two concerts were ever the same on stage, the same goes with the Grateful Dead radio program on KAKU 88.5 FM. Saturday night at 8 and Sunday night at 9, it's Dead Air. It's an hour of killer recordings, stories from the Tapers section, tall tales from the parking lot, and I'll throw in an interview from time to time. Hey, I'm Corey Daniels. Saturday night at 8 and Sunday night at 9, you'll get Dead Air on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui.
Some some things get better with age. Maui County is accepting nominations for the 57th Annual Outstanding Older American, honoring kupuna age 65 plus for community contributions. Awards will be presented on May 15th, 2026 during Older Americans Month. Any individual or organization may nominate by